There can be a lot of reasons why a person chooses to read a story. Maybe because he just want to be entertained, or maybe because of the characters or the author itself. But in a deeper sense, it can also be that he just want to learn something out from that story. And that is what really matters in reading a certain literature. It is the matter of how that story mold us and affect us, not just academically, but also personally. So at this moment, let us read the story of the ugly duckling and know how can this affect our children academically and personally. Now that we've already read the story of the ugly duckling, it is the time now to critique the story itself on how it can affect the readers personally and academically. Now, let's get to know how the story can affect the readers academically. First, we have the story of the ugly duckling introduced a lot of adjectives in describing the characters. This will help our students in developing their vocabulary, especially in correctly modifying a certain thing. Next, we have the story also tells a true representation of the characters in an entertaining way. The story also used words that are simple and that can be easily understood by our young readers. This will encourage the readers to read the literature, thus giving a way towards developing reading skills. As what we all know, what is really important in children's literature is that the words used by the authors are that very simple or very understandable. And lastly, one of the prior things and the most important thing in writing a literature or a story, it must be or it must have a correct and the proper grammarization for us or for the writers to avoid misleading and confusing the readers itself. The grammar in this story is obviously right and proper, thus giving it an excellent remark and must be introduced to the young children. And that is all about how this story of the ugly duckling affects and influence our learners or readers in terms of academic values. At this moment, let's move on with the last part of this critique about how this story affects the readers in terms of personal values. More than anything else, what can these stories give to us is all about the moral or the personal values that we can use in our everyday life as we continue our journey as human beings. First, this story teaches us to accept differences. As we all know, our main character here in our story is an ugly duckling, which is considered as different among his brothers and sisters. But still, as we all know, the mother is trying to accept, even if he is not the same as his brothers and sisters. And that is what really important here. We all know how to accept differences. This story also teaches us to be strong on whatever challenges we may face. As what our main character did, we must face against our problem no matter what and whatever it is. Lastly, this story reminds us not to judge others' imperfections. As we all know, they are also human just like us. They have the feelings and they can feel hurt. And as what we always say, we don't see the future. Maybe those imperfections they have are the manifestations of how perfect they will be in the future. So that is all for today, guys. Thank you for listening.